Hello, viewers. You're welcome to Child and Society, the program for you and that discusses issues concerning you and your society and your children, policymakers' policies, and that showcases role models in our society. Your regular presenter is Vera Colley. You're welcome. Now I'm going to be introducing to you my regular guests, my colleagues in child protection and mental health who are here today. On my right,
Grace Umore, mental health nurse.
Simisola Dabiri, team manager.
Thank you. You're both welcome. As you know, viewers, this program is a program that is showcased and discussed by professionals in the field, those who actually do the groundwork with people out there on daily basis. So we are going to be discussing again today the issues concerning bullying in schools, bullying people. When someone intimidates you, the person is bullying you. When somebody makes you scared, frightens you, and you're unable to challenge them, it's a bully. Today we are going to be discussing the issues. What do we understand by that bullying? What are the causes of bullying? And what are the consequences of bullying? When you bully people, what are the consequences? Only this week in United Kingdom, a young girl was bullied in school for so many months. And eventually, due to the difficulty of coping, she killed herself. She took her own life because of bullying. Today we're going to be discussing the causes. Why do people bully? What can be done? How does it impact on our young people? Thank you. May I start with you, Simisola? What do you understand by bullying?
I think bullying is about control. Bullying is about a person who doesn't feel able to express themselves in the right way, and so therefore feels that they have to impact that on somebody else. Somebody that they think is weaker and who they think that they can control and intimidate.
I would think in the school, 70% of our teenagers have experienced bullying. And bullying is a learned behavior which can be prevented. And when we have people who persistently, pick on other vulnerable ones because they believe like they want to take control and they want to take authority. And they make it very difficult for their victim to be able to live a comfortable life, which the victim sometimes may have a long-term scare, which might involve them having a low self-esteem. And this will affect them emotionally in terms of withdrawal from school, poor school achievements, and as you rightly said in the introduction, and in the long term, for them to be able to escape from their tormentor. And the best thing is, I've had enough, I can't wait. And they just take their life, they commit suicide. So there are certain ways in which we could be seen to prevent this, and this could be done from home and also in schools as well. What have the schools put in place, and we as parents, what are the symptoms which we need to be looking out for both the bullying and the victim of person being bullied?
I took interest in this very topic because I have never spoken about my bullying, the bullying that I underwent when I was in secondary school. In fact, I was bullied from age 10. The bullying did not actually happen in the school as it were. It started just as I was getting into class 1. Just before I get into class 1, I was bullied by a lot of boys in my area because they thought that I was not I wasn't available for them. So they started giving me names. They called me names. They teased me. They stopped me on the street. They threw stones at me. They called me names that I actually felt at one point like, doing something to myself. But thank God I had a mother that I had, and each time I told her, she will go to play to the homes of these children and go and warn their parents, not them. And that continued. But I must tell you, it's a scar that has lived with me all these years, and I still remember it till today. Bullying is not a good thing. It's happening. It's real. I have lived through it. I really empathize with a young girl who took her life. And I thank God that during my own time, there was no internet or text messaging, because that would have driven me mad. I would have maybe done a very nasty thing to myself. That is why I really think that we need to address this issue of bullying.
I think very much like the bully themselves are a victim. They're a victim of low self-esteem. They're a victim of experiences from their own backgrounds. They're a victim of not understanding what their actions are doing and the consequences, the long-term consequences, and how it impacts on them. But also the bully themselves, they can't do it in isolation. They always have to drag other people into that situation.
It used to be like a group.
They have to be a group.
Yes.
But even though there's a leader, and the leader can't function, that actual main bully can't function without that group in tow. Once that group falls away, that bully is the most vulnerable person ever. And I think that when we're trying to combat bullying, we need to look at what the experiences of the victim is as well, of the actual person who is doing the bullying is. And what we have to also understand is if we don't address it at that young age, the person who's being bullied has long-term scars like you talked about, but also the person who is bullying will grow up to be quite an aggressive individual who also will continue to bully throughout their lives because that's the only way they know to take control. And that's a sad thing. And people often say, oh, you'll grow out of it, oh, they get fed up, sticks and stones may break my bones, etc. But that is not the actual issue. The issue is it's the impact on all parties involved. And once adults know that a young person's being bullied, once they hear a young person's being bullied, they shouldn't push it under the carpet. They should actually deal with it. They shouldn't say, oh, you know, grow up.
I give an example with myself of this kind of bullying, except that I wasn't physically hit. Well, they were throwing stone at me, so that it's equally like physical abuse.
And it's fear.
It's fear.
It's the fear that they cause, and the fear is what drives them. Once they realise that they have no longer that control, they will fall away. But the problem is that the victim will continue to feel that fear, and so therefore that feeds into that bully's tendencies.
Yeah, because with the victim usually feel very much isolated.
Very
you know,
much so.
they're non-assertive in class, and then their self-esteem tends to be, you know, target, and they become quite withdrawn. And sometimes as parents, you know, when we start seeing all these characteristics and symptoms in our children, we need to look at them closely to find out, you know, what is really, really happening.
So
you find out
do
that
parents need to then look for?
Yeah, parents, we need to look at their attainment in school, their absenteeism, and their truancy. Sometimes they tell you they're going to school and then they don't go to school. And then sometimes with the physical effects of what the bully must have been doing to them, then you could see some scars on their physical scars. They've been kicked, they've been you know, called names, and all those ones are the emotional and the physical impact which would, and also they become very anxious, they become very much unsure of themselves, and sometimes they believe like they themselves, they deserve it, and then they feel like, oh, I have done this, maybe, and then they seems to believe like, yeah, they deserve to be bullied, and then at the end of the day, sometimes if they feel like they've had enough, then they could become very aggressive themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, if they've been pushed to the wall and they say, that's it. So they become very, very aggressive, and they become very frustrated, impulsive, and violent to the person tormenting them. And sometimes then they become the perpetrator and no longer the victim because they have chosen to act out.
I think also what parents need to look out for, it's very interesting, but also what parents need to look out for is if a young person is being bullied, the withdrawal, the change in behaviour, the possible use of drugs, the possible abuse of others, and pets as well.
All right. Viewers, we're going to be going for a break in a minute. As you know, we've been talking about different types of bullying and what parents should look out for. When we come back for break, we're going to be looking at the consequences. Although I've given myself as an example initially, but we're going to be looking at the consequences. As you know, this week, someone, a young person, took her life because of the impact of bullying on her. Thank you. You're welcome, viewers, to this second part of this segment of this show. We're going to be looking at now the impact, the consequences of bullying on young people. Bullying is something that we all have to look out for, because it's not every child that has got the resiliency to withstand bullying. Some children find it very difficult. They will not speak to the teachers, they will not speak to their parents, they will withdraw, and as a result, they will harm themselves. In my particular case, I didn't keep quiet. I told my mom, who was very supportive of me. She listened and she went from house to house and to stop the bullying which I was experiencing. Now, over to you, Miss Momoren. We want you to tell us what are the consequences of bullying on young people.
Yeah, in a young child, we could see bedwetting as part of the evidence. And we could see them becoming very anxious about themselves. We could see them not being assertive as they want to. And when once they have, you see the person in the same space in which they are, then you could see that their body structure starts to change. They become frightening, and they become very frightening and very difficult to compose themselves. And sometimes, you know, they will affect their eating pattern, their sleeping pattern, and not only will that affect their emotion, but also their health as well, the medical health. So these are the things in which both the school and the parents need to be looking out for. If we find all these things, you know, with our young ones, you know, we should try and support them, not actually asking them a lot of formal questions, but just trying to be there with them and to explore what are their needs, what are their concerns, what are their fears, and then take them to places which you feel like they're safe, and then they can trust you, because trust is a very important thing. They can trust you and then be able to speak to you, because they don't want to be known as a grass, but they want to be seen as trusting you and then being safe to able to express their ordeal.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
I actually think that also the impact is creating very insecure adolescents and very insecure adults as well, because once the foundation of being able to become that solid person is broken, unless that foundation is actually rebuilt and made solid again, you will have a broken adolescent, and their behaviour will deteriorate. The possibility of moving into crime and drugs is highly there. The possibility of experiencing mental health issues is highly there as well. And growing into an adult, the ability to make and form appropriate relationships is also the
and their
possibility.
social skills are gone.
Exactly.
They don't have any social
and that's what
skills.
I was saying about rebuilding
They don't
the foundation.
have they don't have skills to be able to negotiate. They don't even have social skills in terms of friendship, to form friendship. They find it very difficult in terms of trust to be able to form friendship and then to be able to negotiate their way, because they look at themselves as being battered and broken.
Very much so. And it also will impact on them growing into parents as well. And then in the workplace, they may become the bully because they may feel that's the only control they've got. So where you may find bosses who are bullies, because you do find quite a few bosses, especially in our field, there's a lot of bosses who are bullies, and it is about them taking back their control. But all that could have been resolved with the working on the experience as a child.
Okay, so for the viewers, we want you to know that bullying is not a very good thing, and bullying does impact on people. And in a country like ours, in Nigeria, and like in most other African countries, there may not be adequate systems in place to target bullying. So we like to think up for solution for our countries, the Black continent, where there are no services, what services we can put in place.
I think again it's about how much interference you want to have in people's lives and people's ability to negotiate relationships, and also because we have got a very hierarchical system in Nigeria where it's yes sir, no sir. And on one hand I do agree with it, but on the other hand we know very many situations in Nigeria where Oga is the bully, you know what I mean, and unnecessarily so. And the problem also with our system in Nigeria, sometimes we don't work to our job description, and so the possibility of being bullied and being made to do things that are not acceptable are there. But also schools, going back to children, schools need to recognise that your mum was good. You know, my school wasn't that good about checking bullying. And I'm hoping that they have improved now, but they weren't that good at that point in time. But some of the students were good in supporting those that were bullied, and so that was the positive thing about it. But, I think teachers need to look out for the bullying. They need to understand the impact on the growing child and the emerging adolescent into adulthood. And we need to start accepting that there needs to be some kind of training for teachers and other workers who work with young people, who can recognise the signs and symptoms and understand the impacts and outcomes.
And also, I would believe, like in every school, that they should have a policy on bullying as well, and then children should be reassured all the time to say, yes, if you are being bullied, there should be a sort of a support which is confidential, where they could go, speak to whosoever, and then feel safe. And parents as well should be part of it, because, education is not in isolation. Yes, we have the school. Yes, we have the teachers. Yeah. The teachers could only do so much. But at the same time, we have the parents as well. The parents should work in partnership, with the school, and also every child should feel safe in whichever environment in which they are growing. So we have a duty to make sure, like we and the government, we should put things in place. Like when this sort of behavior, which it could be prevented, it should be escalated to whichever highest level of authority, so that we deal with it then as a child, and then we stop having that same culture of a child, and at the place of work, a child who is a bully or a child who becomes a victim, when they leave that childhood and then they become an adult, and then bullying still goes on.
Definitely. But the good thing about our culture is that we do still work in partnership with schools. Parents still respect the fact that teachers have got some kind of authority, and teachers will work in partnership. The poor thing is that here in the UK, a lot of parents don't work in partnership with schools and don't acknowledge what's going on with their children, tend to kind of like listen to the child and what the child is saying, the bully, i.e., more than the person who's being bullied, and work with the school to eradicate it. So I think there's a great deal of hope for us in Nigeria to kind of like put policies and procedures in place and work from the grassroots.
And then also, at times, the bully starts from home as well. Like we parents as well, especially from the African background, to say, well, okay, I'm the dad, I'm supposed to be strong, I'm supposed to be in control, and then the young child picks it up. And then the young child persists to say the role model of the dad. And then it says, oh, you're being a bully. Then they're quite confused as well.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, that is very true. That's so true, actually. That confusion is so true.
Yeah, it's very confused. So we ourselves, as parents, we have a role in which if, like a father or a mother sees the father playing the role of a bully, then they should be able to speak to themselves and then let them understand that they need to role model an acceptable behavior where in a child will pick it up and then become a grown-up child for the future and not being labeled as a bully.
Okay. Viewers, you've been hearing professionals in this field talk about the impact of bullying. We've tried to explain what bullying means, the types of bullying, the implications of bullying on young people. Like we said, this week, a young person killed herself because she was tormented by her mates. Bullying is not to be tolerated. Bullying, we must say no to it. Every institution that deals with young people need to have in place a policy, anti-bullying policy, and it needs to be taken seriously in order to prevent this horrible thing affecting children. In modern times, it's become so bad that a young person can be bullied via text messages, Facebook. Many things is being done these days to hurt children. If you are a bully and you are watching this program, be you an adult, be you a young person, please take note that what you are doing is not right, and that it's not up to you to hurt another person, and you should stop hurting people. Hurting is not good. Imagine if you were in a position where other people bullied you, how would it make you feel? If you're a father and you had been a bully in the past and now you are bullying your partner, your children are also observing you, you should also please watch this program and learn from it that bullying your partner or your wife is not the best idea, because your children will copy from it. If you are a wife and you are the one bullying your husband by intimidating him, you should also take note when you watch this program. Bullying is not fair. It can damage someone's emotional well-being. It can demasculine men and make them to feel like they have no role. And if you're a man and you are bullying your wife, you also take powers and authority from her as a mother and make her feel like she has no role in the home. And children who are brought up in such homes observe their parents as weak. If we are to support our young people, tomorrow's future, from what we've heard now, we need to support them if they are bullied, so that they don't grow into adults who become weak, or adults who themselves begin to react against the impact of bullying on them, and then turn around to become bullies themselves.
Yeah.
That is what we've been talking about today, is how to make this, how to make our society a better society for us all to enjoy and live in, for us to have children who go through school without fear and intimidation, who do not suffer, who bullying does not impact on their educational achievement. If young people are to achieve and contribute positively in society, they need to be supported so that they do not experience bullying from home to school, from school to university, from university to workforce. That's what we've heard today. Viewers, we come to the end of this program. I hope that it's been useful. Child and Society is every week. Today's program is particularly very interesting, and we are saying thank you for watching. Watch us every week at the same time. And remember, our program is watched in United Kingdom, Europe, some parts of America, and in Nigeria. You are welcome. Thank you for watching. Yeah.
Thank you. And if you are being bullied, you're not on your own. Tell somebody.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're being bullied, seek help, and know that there is help out there for you.
Thank you, viewers, and bye-bye.